Hello, everybody, and welcome to Musings from a Cranky Old Man, and I'm Ed Daniels, episode 2, titled Ease Trees. How's everybody doing? Today we're going to take a look at a crazy time in my life, as if that whole damn thing wasn't crazy. From Binghamton, New York. Out one day with a good buddy of mine. I don't want to use anybody's names. I don't want to get sued, so we'll just call him Kevin Dundon. Kevin and I were enjoying some adult beverages. The year, I'd have to say, was 1978 of the Lord. High above the large metropolis area of Binghamton, at a place called Mill Hill. Kevin and I parked my 73 Ford Pinto with Miller Lite beer caps. Might have been Miller. I don't know if they had light beer back then. But anyway, we flipped up the hatch, listened to my AM PM radio, blasting, drinking beer, probably smoking pot, if I'm honest. But I can't remember due to long-term effects. We went up to woods to take a piss. And I noticed a tree. It was the most beautiful tree I'd ever seen in my life. Moonlight shining down on it. It's probably about the end of November, 78. The tree was perfect. It was perfect. It would look like the perfect Christmas tree. So I said to him, look at this beautiful tree. He said, well, the one next to it's not too ugly either. So we pulled on it and tugged on it and we ripped it out. And we brought it down to the bar we were hanging out in. It's called the Blarney Stone. We brought it in, the owner saw it and had to have it. Best looking tree they'd ever seen. They put it up, and I want to say we probably charged them about $20, which at the time was a lot of money, and a hell of a lot more trips up to Mill Hill. Well, word got around. People came from miles around to marvel at the beauty of this tree. Remember, there was another up right next to it. Kevin and I grabbed a 12-pack of beer and went back up to the hill. And there begun the business that came to be known as Ease Trees. Now, I'll tell you, it was like a meteor. It was brief and it was brilliant. But I will take you on a journey as Kevin and I went into business together. Well, we bent and twisted and tore down the second beautiful tree, obviously a twin, and brought it back down to the bar and sold it to the owner's partner. Another $20 to $22. I can't recall. We were sure there were more trees up there. So we started filling an order list. I started getting cocky. Doctors would later say I begged to be caught. I told my girlfriend, stick with me and I'll have you in furs. Douglas firs, matter of fact. So we went back up to the hill, grabbed some more beer. Started tearing down trees in the midnight hour, under the moonlight, up to our ankles in snow. And after selling 3 or 4 of them, we decided it was time to pump money back into the business. So we went to a hardware store and bought a 2-man saw. Boy, production picked up. We started, and it was cyclical. The more we sold, the more beer we drank. The more beer we drank, the more trees we tore down. We started hacking them down. We crossed town. We were taking orders from everybody. Probably filled 35 orders. Now, one thing we did notice, we had to walk farther from the car to get to a tree because we were pretty much destroying the forest. Then one particular night, I believe it was a full moon, or so it seemed to be later on in the stories. We were cutting down a tree, and the 2-man saw came out of the 75% cut tree. And I told Kevin, whoa, hold on a minute. And I'm reaching down, I'm feeling for where the cut mark was. And Kevin moved the saw and cut my finger. I let out a yell, which could be heard from the owner of the tree farm's house. Well, we didn't know it was a Christmas tree farm. And by the time we were done with it, who would have? But the owner came out with his neighbors, and he put a shotgun to my head, the back of my head, as I was sawing into my 40th tree, I'd imagine. And they took us to town court was a town in Binghamton, not to be confused with the major metropolis. It was a little gymnasium off of school. Now, as luck would have it, the tree owner, Chester Harris, also happened to be the judge. So, I mean, I think the the judge and jury were out and back on this one. But he was also a God-fearing man, much to our luck. He called us to the bench, and by bench, I mean the bench from the school basketball team in the gym. And we threw ourselves at the mercy of the court. Now, sure, old Chet was missing some trees. But as far as he was concerned, that was the only one Kevin and I had ever cut down. So he huddled up with his neighbors. Any one of them could have been confused for Elmer Fudd with their attire. And they decided, in the spirit of the Lord, and seeing it was coming up on the anniversary of the Lord's birthday, they would fine us $1. Well, I couldn't pull my stolen money out of my pocket fast enough. I mean, hell, we'd probably make $1,200. I'm like, what year do you want? What mint? He says, no, it's not like that. You can pay me later on. Now I want you to come over and have dinner with my family. So Kevin and I, I'm going to talk about feeling like crap. Kevin and I go over to the house. We sit down with the family and break bread with them. You know, my mother didn't raise me to be a tree thief. Matter of fact, when I was a kid in school, they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Nobody said a tree thief. It's just a supply and demand thing. Probably seasonal. But anyway, we got done breaking bread, and I gave him the $1. We came down the hill. Business was ruined. Couldn't fill orders. Production came to a halt. But we learned a valuable lesson that day. We learned that Chet was a forgiving man, and we were liars. And it bothered me. And we had to go around and give money back to all the people that already prepaid us for trees to, I mean, this is Binghamton, New York, for Christ's sakes. There couldn't be another farm. Nothing was going to be as pretty as Chet's trees. So I went on with my life, much the wiser. And it bothered me, and bothered me, and bothered me. Matter of fact, being it was a Christmas type thing, it bothered me every Christmas. Kind of took away the spirit of the holiday. Well, days turned into months, months turned into years, Christmas after Christmas. Got married, had a family, moved to Rochester, New York. Told people the story about Chet's kindness. And it really ate me up. I was working for Dick's Sporting Goods at the time. They had headquarters outside of Binghamton near 5 Mile Point, and I got called back from Rochester to go to a meeting. And the meeting ended early, and I was driving back to Rochester. And got out of there got in the night before, got out about noon, had, 2.5, 3 hour ride back. And I thought, my wife was expecting me to get out at 5, get in night, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And I thought, I got a little extra time. It's been on my mind for years. I'm going to find Chet Harris. And I'm going to apologize to him. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to buy a Christmas tree from him. And I'm going to tip him. I'm going to somehow pay back a little bit of that money that I'd taken from him. So I drove in the woods. Any advantage I had by the early dismissal eroded quickly as I struggled to find Chet's farm. Down one road, up another. Down the side road, I can't find Chet. And then out of the corner of my eye, I spot a little old man cutting down a tree, and a sign only with a shotgun pushed to the back of my head did I ever see the sign that said Chester Harris Tree Farm. Of course, when you cut 40 trees down, you get closer to the front of the business. But that was the same sign. And it used to be hanging from 2 hooks the day he caught me in 1978. This was 9 years later. A formidable 9 years for me as an adult. I'm doing the right thing. So I said to the little old guy, I said, excuse me, can you go get Chet Harris? He said, I am Chet Harris. Well, I figured it was his father. Those 9 years were more taxing to Chet than they were to me. He was a little old man. And I said, Chet, you remember me? Can you imagine? Chet didn't remember where the bathroom was. He said to me, no, should I? His sign was hanging from one hook. Tree farm. Nothing like I remembered it. I could still see the stumps where me and Kevin left our mark. He said, what do you need? crotchety old man. And I said, Chet, my name's Ed Daniels. I'm from Rochester, New York, but originally from Binghamton. And it was about 9, 10 years ago, you and your friends arrested me and my friend for cutting down Christmas trees. And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, that bothers me. It bothered me for all this time. Every year at Christmas, it bothered me. I said, so I'd like to order a tree from you. And he said, okay. I said, give me the nicest tree you got. So he hacked, cut it down, almost helped him out of habit. He gets me my tree, ties it to the roof of my van. I said, how much, Chet? He said, that'll be $30. I said, here's $75. He said, why are you doing that? As he pocketed the money. And I said, Chet, because you taught me a valuable lesson about forgiveness. And it's bothered me all this time that I took trees from you. And he said to me, I'll never forget, he looked up and said, oh shit, that happens every year. And I thought, wow, just wasted all this time with guilt. And I drove up the highway, pondering the significance and, how this whole thing went down and how it weighed on me so heavily. He was a God-fearing man, a forgiving man. And it was only right that I tormented and toiled over it every Christmas and gave him extra money I didn't need to give him. And I thought, I guess that's my penance for what I did and what Kevin did. Meantime, Kevin's been living in Florida for 10 years. He doesn't give a... I don't even know if he celebrates Christmas anymore. He don't give a shit. As for me, though, I felt guilty. So I'm riding up the highway and I thought, I kind of chuckled. And I thought, I'm going to get home later than I would have if the meeting went the whole goddamn day. I spent too much on a Christmas tree. He didn't even want an apology. He didn't even give a shit. And I thought, you know what? I'd say we're even. And then I got out of my car after a 3-hour ride. And I looked on my roof and there was a twig. Every needle on that goddamn tree is somewhere on the thruway. And I thought, Chet's ahead now. So that's my story on East Trees. And that business lasted for about 10 days. Thank you. Good day.